Nearly 2 centuries ago, a 26-year-old scientist named Charles Darwin pulled up to the shores of a remote chain of islands and began to work, studying the land and the animals. Here he would learn things that inspired his theories on evolution and natural selection. Darwin brought attention to the Galapagos Islands and earned a spot in the history books.
Now, that past is making way for the future as a new generation learns and works on the islands.
What I want in the future is that there's no longer any danger of extinction.
Their goal, to save the land, to save the animals, and to make sure the islands don't become history.
While books are a wonderful way to learn about remote places, seeing them and experiencing them really grows an even greater love for the world and wildlife.
And that is why we are thrilled to be standing in the Galapagos Islands habitat here at the Houston Zoo.
It is truly incredible and one of a kind, just like the actual islands. There is no place in the world like this. In the next hour, we are going to take you through this stunning habitat and show you how your visit helps save animals like the ones you'll see here.
It just gives me such hope for the future.
But first, our colleague Anthony Yanez takes us on a journey to the equator to show us why the Galapagos Islands are both one of the most protected and most vulnerable places on Earth. From KPRC2 and the Houston Zoo, you're watching Saving the Galapagos Islands. We're so fortunate to now have this taste of Galapagos in our city.
From the lava rocks to each cactus, every detail is carefully developed to reflect the islands and to teach us how we can make a difference.
Whether you travel to the islands or take a trip to the Houston Zoo, the journey can be the first step toward developing a passion for conservation.
Our journey to the Galapagos Islands began with a flight from Houston to Ecuador, home to the middle of the world, where tourists can stand in the northern and southern hemispheres at the same time. The island sits 600 miles off Ecuador's coast.
As you can see, I'm wearing my jacket, and it's not just because it's the morning. It's the only place along the equator that's not year-round, warm, and humid. And the reason is the water that you see behind me.
A cold current from Antarctica keeps temperatures down, but 5 major ocean currents coming together is what brings in nutrients and life to the islands. Here there are birds with blue feet, tortoises with giant shells, penguins that don't live in snow, and iguanas that swim. But amid the unique landscape and wildlife, something else stands out. A truly remarkable collaboration is taking place. The Ecuadorian government, the Galapagos National Park System, people who live here, and supporters from around the world are all working together to save and restore the islands.
And one of the most enjoyable things about coming to Galapagos for me is the people that I know here and being able to collaborate on the preservation of the species here.
In our travel group, the Houston Zoo Senior Veterinarian Dr. Joe Flanagan and the Zoo's Senior Director of Conservation Education, Melissa Wong.
Our approach to saving animals in the wild is to find the experts that are doing it and lift them and strengthen their work and support them.
The Houston Zoo provides funding to support Freddy Cabrera, who runs a program to save giant tortoises, and Lady Diana Marquez, who has earned the zoo's Wildlife Warrior Award.
Tell me when it all started, the whole I love animals and I want to do this for the rest of my life.
When I was a kid, then both of my parents were working at the Charles Darwin Station, so my brother and I grew up kind of in contact with nature all the time.
From a young age, Galapagonian children learn the importance of protecting the environment. Now Lady and her colleagues are making sure the love they develop for the wildlife sticks with them for life.
Since you started this program, how many kids have gone through it?
Yeah, around 10,000.
Ana Maria Luz began what's now Fundación Icos more than a decade ago after teens came to her.
They wanted to do more to save Galapagos, and they asked me, Ana Maria, we want to do more.
Since then, thousands of youth have been taught to protect our world. Some go on to make it their life's work.
My name is Christopher Joel Arica Jimenez. I am a Galapagos Park Ranger.
Joel learned how to save wildlife through the group's Mola Mola Eco Club. Now, 10 years later, he's a park ranger.
So he is the bright shining star here.
Sentía una pasión hacia los animales.
I had a passion for animals, for plants, but I didn't know how to help until I met the Ecology Club, a club that opened the doors for me.
Without the Houston Zoo support, we couldn't do this kind of thing.
To see the Houston Zoo's support for ourselves, we first flew to Baltra Island and took a ferry to Santa Cruz. This island is home to one of the most populated towns.
Here you'll find people and wildlife living side by side. But most of Galapagos isn't like this. 97% of the area is marked off as national parks.
Despite only 3% of the islands being developed, this unique and inspiring place is at risk. While here, we explore the land.
So what I really love about this walk is that we get to see the red-throated lava lizard.
See animals so protected they can't be removed from the islands, and learn about specific wildlife-saving projects from teens making them happen, like Valeria and Isabella, who are just beginning their own conservation journey.
Es chévere pertenecer a estos clubs.
It's cool to belong to these clubs where we learn and also interact, meet more people.
The Houston Zoo's own Eco Club Zoo Crew gives teens the opportunity to work and learn alongside zoo staff and collaborate with teams in other parts of the world to make a bigger impact.
That's what's going to make this world a better place, right? Are all of these just passionate, highly skilled, collaborative young adults that are finding ways to work together. They're looking for the experts to coach them and mentor them. And to see that happening in real life has been pretty impressive.
Teens working to save wildlife in the Galapagos and in Houston got their start by being curious and asking questions.
So throughout this program, you will hear answers to questions that kids really want to know, starting with Aiden.
Hello, zookeeper. A lot of volcanoes on the island.
Thanks, Aiden. We're on Isabella Island. Dr. Joe, senior veterinarian at the Houston Zoo, has the answer to your question.
In fact, yes, there are a lot of volcanoes here. Each of the islands is formed by a volcano. There are at least 13 larger islands. The newer islands in the west are active volcanoes still. Isabella, in fact, where we are, has 5 active volcanoes. I've been on one of them while it was erupting, and it's really amazing.
Aiden, thank you for your question.
The California sea lions here at the Houston Zoo represent Galapagos sea lions. The species are quite similar. The Galapagos sea lions are just slightly smaller and have a shorter muzzle. When you come to the zoo, spend a few minutes getting to know these California sea lions. These signs outside reveal which sea lions are related, and each animal's unique and sometimes quirky personality traits.
Inside, you can watch the animals' behavior underwater or witness them swim overhead. California sea lions are mammals and can hold their breath for 20 minutes. Many sea lions are as long or longer than an average adult, but they can weigh upwards of 800 pounds. They may be big, but man-made threats can still be a problem. The Houston Zoo cleans up ocean trash and supports sustainable fishing practices to help protect wild sea lions.
Still ahead.
Can you imagine a Galapagos without the Galapagos giant tortoises?
Sería el fin de las Galápagos sin las...
Freddie Cabrera says it would be the end of the islands if all tortoises vanish. What he's doing to make sure that doesn't happen.
But first, if you head to the Houston Zoo to see the new Galapagos Islands habitat, we want to see your pics. Share them on clicktohouston.com/pins/Houston Zoo, and you'll be featured on our website. Stick around. Saving the Galapagos Islands continues next.
Friday morning, helping you find that special someone the second time around. Online dating is the norm, but if you've been off the market for a long time, jumping back in can be intimidating. Where to start and how to attract the right partner? Friday morning.
It's not just about furniture. It never has been. It's about all of us. For 42 years, Gallery Furniture has worked to make the Houston community better. For children, mothers, fathers, families, friends, and for those who sacrifice to make us all safer. This is home, and it's always been our life's work to support home, because without you, Gallery Furniture is just another furniture store. Thank you for supporting Gallery Furniture yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Heavy-duty pulling power to conquer the high road or the off-road. The GMC Sierra Heavy Duty, premium and capable. Step up to GMC with 3.9% APR for 5 years on 2023 Sierra Heavy Duty SLT models. We are professional grade. GMC.
Oh my God.
Pin whatever you see, wherever you are, at Click 2 Pins.
Hi, I'm currently a 9th grader who's volunteering at the Houston Zoo. My question is about tracking the animals in the Galapagos. I was wondering what equipment you guys use and what you do with the information after you get it. Thank you.
Juliet partners with the Houston Zoo, do the tracking, and Dr. Joe has more on that.
It's really cool for us in Houston to see our partners, Lady Marquez and Freddie Cabrera, working with wild animals in the wild and tracking them. They use VHF radios and they apply little transmitters to the back of the tortoise, and then they follow that animal with a radio receiver. The strength of the signal increases if they're pointing at the tortoise, so they can find that animal no matter where it is. And when they find it, they can look at the tortoise, they can establish what it's been doing, they can collect feces, they know what it's been eating, and they can help us learn what is important to the habitat of the tortoises. When we can synthesize that information, we can help plan a better future for the Galapagos tortoise.
Juliet, great question.
The tortoise population at the Houston Zoo more than tripled with the opening of the Galapagos Islands.
7 giant tortoises were brought in from South Carolina and Arizona to join the 3 you may have already seen here at the Houston Zoo.
Tortoises born on the Galapagos Islands are not permitted to be removed, but these tortoises were born in the United States and are an example of how zoos breed threatened species to ensure they survive.
While they are endangered, giant tortoises can live a long time, often more than 100 years. The oldest recorded Galapagos tortoise lived to be 175 years old.
The giant tortoises here range from 40 to 220 pounds, but they can weigh more than 500 pounds and be 5 feet in length.
This habitat shows a landscape similar to the area in the Galapagos Islands, where one of the Houston Zoo's conservation partners is tracking the giants.
From a distance, large rocks appear to be scattered across fields. Up close, we see they are actually some of the most famous residents of the islands. Today, we're looking for one named Butternut. To lead us to him, we turn to Freddie Cabrera. Freddie is the co-founder of the Charles Darwin Foundation's Galapagos Tortoise Movement Ecology Program.
Tell me about the work you do here.
The job I do here is to track giant tortoises, both adults and babies.
Freddie works with giant tortoises because he says without them, the islands would no longer exist.
Se acabaría Galapagos. The Galapagos would end.
No solo como tortugas,
because they're not just tortoises. They are the ecosystem engineers.
As tortoises migrate, they eat plants and spread seeds, keeping the islands growing. Freddie's been fascinated with tortoises since he was a boy. Now he uses his passion to lead teens as they develop a love for the animals too.
What work do you do when you come out here?
What we do is look for the tortoises, the ones with GPS, to see if they are in good condition or if they have a problem.
Are you concerned about the future of the Galapagos?
Sí, me ha preocupado demasiado bastante. Yes, I'm very worried, quite a lot, because we have many problems like invasive species. And we're also the cause of many species being on the verge of extinction.
14-year-olds Gabby and Ronaldo want to fix that. And they're working with Freddie to track Butternut, a large male tortoise known to spend time in 2 neighboring ranches.
So do we have him in sight?
Yeah,
Butternut's believed to be 70 to 80 years old. In addition to tracking, the teams will look for tortoise eggs and learn how to protect the animals. Ronaldo joined the Mola Mola Club at 13. He looked forward to sharing his new knowledge with others, including his family.
Most of all, I shared the experience. Something new for me is also something new for my relatives.
The Houston Zoo provides funding that makes the monitoring of satellite tag giant tortoises possible. Zoo staff also travel to the islands to assist with the conservation work.
How does the Houston Zoo help you do your work?
If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here myself, because they pay my salary and support with mobile teams. If they had not continued to support us, we will not be able to keep working on the conservation of tortoises.
Data Freddie and his team collect is shared with officials and landowners, encouraging everyone to be careful about placing barriers or roads that could disrupt a tortoise's migration.
We are not the ones who make the decisions on that, but we give them the tools and we talk.
For Freddie, he's working for the tortoises and for the future of his family.
I have 2 children, And by preserving and conserving the Galapagos, and especially the tortoises that give the Galapagos their name, they will continue to benefit my children and future generations.
Wild animals with wild traits. Still ahead, the bluer the feet, the better the bird. Plus, a celebrity sighting. How big-name performers bring attention to the true stars of the islands, the animals.
And digging in to uncover clues about the health of a sea turtle nest.
Look at this one. This one's almost 100%.
But first, you can take action to save wildlife at work, home, or school. Visit click2houston.com/conservation or scan the QR code on your screen for ways you can reduce and recycle plastics, paper, and even electronic devices. Stay with us. Our special Saving the Galapagos Islands continues next.
Give your small business one tech solution that checks all the boxes. It's all here with the Comcast Business Complete Connectivity Solution. Peace of mind with cyber threat security. The power of the largest, fastest, reliable network. Plus, save up to 75% a year with Comcast Business Mobile, the complete connectivity solution from the company powered by the next generation 10G network. Get started for just $49 a month and ask about an $800 prepaid card. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
This is how legends are made. Chevy Silverado and new Silverado HD. Choose your own path with the #1 best-selling retail full-size pickup and see where it takes you. Find new roads. It's Chevy truck season. Get 0% financing plus make no monthly payments for 90 days on all 2023 Silverado 1500 pickups or get $2,250 total cash allowance on a 2023 Silverado with a turbo high-output engine. Chevy drives Texas. Find new roads.
Hello again. I'm Don Valentine, owner of John Moore Home Services, Houston's own AC, plumbing, and electrical company. My mom taught me if a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing right. Well, old-fashioned values have shaped John Moore for 56 years, and they're even more important now. Doing the right thing, the right way. Never a resurface charge. Excellent service from start to finish. John Moore, we're here for you.
Why does the blue-footed booby have blue feet?
Great question, Risa. We actually have 4 of them behind us right now. Dr. Joe?
The blue feet are enhanced by the food that they eat. There's a little fish, it's like an anchovy, it's called the salima. And when the blue-footed booby eats them, they get the pigment for their feet. And the interesting thing about that is the birds with the bluest feet make the best parents. They select each other based on the color of their feet.
Thanks for the question, Risa.
The blue-footed boobies are certainly one of the most unique animals in the Galapagos. One of the most rare also has feathers, the Galapagos penguins. They are the second smallest species of penguins in the world and the most endangered. They weigh less than 10 pounds and stand less than 20 inches. It's estimated there are fewer than 2,000 in the wild. At the Houston Zoo, Humboldt penguins represent the Galapagos penguin. This is the first time the zoo has had penguins, so families are in for quite a treat.
The biggest threats to penguins are also huge problems for other animals that swim in the sea. Warmer ocean temperatures, overfishing, and plastic pollution threaten all wildlife in the water. That's why from the Gulf Coast to the coast of the Galapagos Islands, teens are working with the support of the Houston Zoo to save ocean animals like sea turtles.
Here on this pristine Tortuga Bay beach, Lady Marquez and the teens demonstrate some of their work using an old sea turtle nest.
De mayo 05.
During nesting season, the group identifies where sea turtles have laid their eggs and marks the spots to protect them from people visiting the beach.
First of all, when we are protecting the nest, we are using like these signs, making sure that the people is aware that this is like a nesting zone.
After the babies hatch, they return to gauge the health of the nest and identify any threats.
70 days, we wait until we see like any marks that like the baby are hatching and emerging. That's when they like leave like kind of like a hole
The group digs in to uncover data that could help save the sea turtles.
How deep are the nests usually? Yeah, usually it's like 1 meter deep, so it's pretty deep. We're going to be counting, but usually like in average will be like 70 to like 120 eggs per nest.
By removing the leftover pieces of the eggs, they can tell how many babies hatched and how many didn't make it.
This is like unhatched one, but
oh, it is.
It is, so they are going to be opening and then they are going to see what happened.
Fungus, bugs, people, all pose threats.
And we also have microplastic.
At the end of each nesting season, Lady and the teens crunch the numbers and provide the data to the national park, along with recommendations on how to help further protect the turtles. On Tortuga Bay, the teens decided to add signs at the beach's entrance to educate visitors about the sea turtles.
Work together with visitors, national park rangers, and community members as well. So everyone is involved to be part of the solution.
Excuse me. Coming up, why marine iguanas seem to sneeze.
Plus,
cars can be dangerous for giant tortoises. That's why you see signs like this along the road.
Teens take to the roads to size up the dangers for giant tortoises. And a trip to the Charles Darwin Research Station, where the tiniest giants are being prepared to save their species. But first, if you have a teen interested in joining Zoo Crew at the Houston Zoo, 2023 applications are closed, but you can start planning for 2024. There are also camps for younger kids that will inspire a love of wildlife and conservation. Go to clicktohouston.com/conservation for more information on Zoo Crew and Camp Zufari.
Identical twins Bethany and Stephanie both struggled with CPAP for their sleep apnea. But Stephanie got Inspire, an implanted device that works inside the body. There's no reason to keep struggling.
Inspire. Learn more and view important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
America's oil and gas moves through 2.5 million miles of underground pipelines safely. But what if those pipelines were gone? We would need 90,000 more tanker trucks or 27,000 more rail cars every single day just to meet our energy needs. So, do you want this, this, or this? We move America's energy. We are Energy Transfer.
Distinctive in design. Meticulous in craftsmanship. Confident in execution. Genesis, a new beginning of what luxury can be. During the Genesis Signature event, lease the 2023 Genesis GV80 for $649 per month exclusively at your Houston area Genesis retailers.
I struggled with CPAP every night, but now that I got the Inspire implant, it's making me think of doing other things I've been putting off.
Like removing the tattoo of your first wife's name.
Inspire. Learn more and view important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
How are marine iguanas able to swim?
Thank you, Samuel. Dr. Joe from the Houston Zoo has that answer.
So marine iguanas have many adaptations for living here in the islands and being the only lizard that lives in the ocean. But one of those amazing adaptations is its tail is changed from the regular green iguana. Instead of being a round tail, it's actually flattened on both sides so that it acts as a rudder as they swim through the water. And they make a serpentine motion or a snake-like motion with their tail that propels them through the water. They can dive, they can surface, they can swim on the surface, and then they can climb back up on rocks until they digest their food.
Thank you for your question, Samuel.
In the Galapagos Islands, our team spotted land iguanas and those really unique marine iguanas. The solitary land iguanas live in dry areas and eat cactus to stay hydrated. The social marine iguanas sneeze out salt after feeding in the ocean. Here at the Houston Zoo, the Grand Cayman blue iguana from the Caribbean represents its endangered relatives. Just like the Galapagos iguanas, non-native species like rats and dogs threaten the blue iguana populations by preying on the reptiles and their eggs. The Houston Zoo supports conservation organizations working to reduce those threats.
Reducing threats is a big focus. Restoring animal populations is also a priority for the Houston Zoo. On the island of Santa Cruz, giant tortoises are hatching every year and surviving, thanks to careful monitoring at the Charles Darwin Research Station.
Look at that. I mean, there's dozens. Are those babies or what are those?
I call them toddlers.
In fenced-in areas at the Charles Darwin Research Station, we saw giant tortoises of all sizes.
So why can't they be out like where we were yesterday on their own? Why do they have to be in here?
Well, first of all, we need to protect them.
The tortoises are raised here from birth to improve their chance of survival in the wild. Dots of color identify which island they're from and which island they'll be released on one day.
One of the biggest challenges facing the animals here are invasive species.
There's rats, there's cats, there's goats, there's donkeys.
The invasive species problem is just one of the issues the Charles Darwin Foundation has battled over the decades.
After the rats are gone, tortoises that are produced here in the Darwin Station will be reintroduced to Floriana, and there's already 400 babies ready to go. And in the meantime, more will be produced, so we're hoping to see thousands of tortoises released there in the next 10 years.
Visitors to the Charles Darwin Research Station and its breeding center get to see the work happening. Rakhan Zahawi is the executive director and CEO of the Charles Darwin Foundation. The uniqueness of Galapagos is why his researchers are working so hard to save the islands. But they know they can't complete their work alone.
We are 2,000 miles away from you. But Houston, for 10 years, has helped you how?
Houston's been an integral part of our research program here, especially with respect to giant tortoises. So for more than 10 years, they've helped fund that research program. So Houston's been critical.
The Houston Zoo's been a part of that for a long time, working with people here to train Galapagos, supporting them in education efforts and activities that will cause them to be the leaders of tomorrow.
Here at the Charles Darwin Research Station, more than 75% of the staff are Ecuadorian citizens. Involving the local community is vital to the success of these conservation programs. Getting locals of all ages invested in the projects is important.
We work with young kids, we work with schools. We won't accomplish anything if we don't, if we just publish science and just publish information in the scientific realm. We need to actually get that out into the broader community. In order to do so, you have to have messengers, if you will.
Messengers from outside Galapagos also help spread the word on a bigger stage.
When we were here a couple days ago, we see security, we see this entourage, and one of the biggest stars right now, of course, is Matt Smith with his show. Does all the celebrity get in the way of what you're trying to do with the research, or does it help?
I think it helps. So one of the key things we need to do, as I mentioned earlier, is get the message out. When you have stars come through here, they can just amplify that message enormously.
We're surrounded by all this vegetation.
For 17 years, Giancarlo Totti has been a naturalist guide trained by the Galapagos National Park. He's led celebrities and tourists. He was our guide for most of our trip.
What I like the most about this job is, in a way, to spread the news that it's possible to coexist with nature.
He sees his work and the work of conservation partners working.
I think that Galapagos is better than when I started.
While much has been accomplished, a lot still must be done.
You have the right science. You know how to protect the animals here on the Galapagos now. But then you take the issue of climate change. Does it make you concerned that it may not matter in the end?
It is a concern. That's a concern we have on the global scale. So in some ways, Galapagos could act as a barometer for how climate change is beginning to shift weather patterns from year to year, and how that's impacting species.
Are you hopeful for the future, especially when we're talking about the tortoises, the conservation efforts, the invasive species, all the work ahead? Are you hopeful?
You have to be, and I think there's been a huge transformation in society over the last couple of decades in terms of interest and focus. So, you have to hope that that's coming in time to mitigate the worst problems that we might face here.
Coming up.
Often are they coming out here? Todos los días.
Every day, the operation that has teams out day and night hunting for a creature that's not welcome on the islands. Plus, sifting for a solution to a problem that's hard to spot in the water.
And so George was the last of his kind.
Dr. Joe's special connection to a famous tortoise whose species no longer exists. The Houston Zoo recently celebrated its 100th anniversary. And if you haven't been to the zoo in a while, you're going to want to make the trip. The Galapagos Islands, as well as the Texas wetlands and South America's Pantanal, are among the wonderful habitats that have opened in recent years. Next to open will be a remarkable Birds of the World complex. The zoo celebrating its past while looking toward the future, one we can all impact. Stick around for more of our special Saving the Galapagos Islands next.
Give your small business one tech solution that checks all the boxes. It's all here with the Comcast Business Complete Connectivity Solution. Peace of mind with cyber threat security. The power of the largest, fastest, reliable network. Plus, save up to 75% a year with Comcast Business Mobile, the complete connectivity solution from the company powered by the next generation 10G network. Get started for just $49 a month and ask about an $800 prepaid card. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Do you suffer with pain, numbness, and tingling in the hands or feet, commonly known as peripheral neuropathy? Have you tried drugs that never seem to help? Help is available. Next Genesis Healthcare combines a diagnostic exam to determine the extent of your nerve damage and the latest treatment methods to give you relief from your neuropathy with no drugs or surgery. Don't wait. Call Next Genesis Healthcare today and schedule your neuropathy exam. Next Genesis Healthcare.
My name is Henry. What species are only found in the Galapagos Islands?
Thanks, Henry, for your great question. I'm with Dr. Joe from the Houston Zoo, and some of those creatures are right behind us.
These are some of my favorite animals. I'm really into turtles and tortoises, and the giant tortoises in the Galapagos are unique, only found here, and they're all endangered. More than 50% of the animals in Galapagos are found only in Galapagos. Animals like the Galapagos penguin, the Galapagos land iguanas, the pink iguanas, the marine iguanas, which everybody wants to see them in the wild. But again, my favorite is the tortoise.
The giant tortoises are one of the animals the Galapagos Islands are best known for, but there was one tortoise in particular who gained worldwide attention. Still, despite the animal's popularity, he remained lonesome.
We're about to go into the room where they exhibit the body of Lonesome George.
We enter a dark and cool building and wait 2 minutes in a small space, allowing our eyes to adjust, but more importantly, we wait to protect what we're about to see.
It allows for the mosquito zapper to take care of any bugs that come in because they don't want any bugs or insect damage to happen to them. And the humidity is also damaging, so he's in a very cool air-conditioned environment. So this is all a part of the safety and hopefully long-term preservation.
So I know you knew George.
I knew George. He was a patient.
Dr. Joe explains he first got to know George, the last known Pinta Island tortoise, in 1993. Whenever George showed signs of illness, Dr. Joe would get a call.
I've had a relationship with people here in the national park and the Charles Darwin Station, and I've advised them on many tortoises, but anytime there was a problem with George, they would give me a call, and I'd work with the veterinarian who is here, and he always came through.
Then one day in 2012, without warning, George died.
And unfortunately, the man who found him had taken care of him the whole time here. I get emotional every thinking about how Don Fausto had to experience that. We really never got a final cause of death. It really looks like he died of old age problems.
George was believed to be around 100 years old. An American donor funded the taxidermy, which was done in the United States, so George could live on in Galapagos.
I know you had a personal, special relationship with George. Can you share a little bit with me?
When George saw me, I usually came with needles to draw a blood sample or assess his health, and usually that means you turn them up on their back so you can see what's going on all over them. He didn't like that. So for the most part, George would avoid me. If I got too close, he actually would come, and there's no other word to say, but attack. And he would stand up as high as he could on his front legs, and he'd extend his neck as high as it goes, and then he opens his mouth and he starts to chomp down. And it's hilarious because, you know, even I can outrun him. But it was scary at the same time because he really presented a very fierce image. George didn't like me. He loved Don Fausto. He would come running at tortoise speed to Don Fausto for food and attention. Nobody else on earth got that attention from George.
While George enjoyed his human companion and caretaker, he became known worldwide as Lonesome George, the last of his kind, and attempts to breed him with similar tortoises were unsuccessful.
Is it hard coming back here? Because you
yeah.
work all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is, it's emotional for me. He's extinct. Species doesn't exist.
While George became world-renowned as the face of extinction, he now stands in the Symbol of Hope Hall as a reminder we can make a difference through conservation. Hope is alive after a female tortoise on Fernandina Island, believed to have gone extinct a century ago, was discovered in 2019. The 100-year-old tortoise, dubbed Fernanda, was transported to a breeding center. If a male can be found, a breeding program will begin, like it did with Diego, who Dr. Joe worked with prior to his release back on Espanola Island. Diego was believed to be one of only 15 specimens of his specific tortoise breed. After living 30 years at the San Diego Zoo, he became part of a captive breeding program in Galapagos, leading to 800 offspring. In 2020, Diego and other Espanola tortoises were carried by volunteers who released them into their original habitat, marking a successful effort to save that species from extinction.
Every bit of progress towards saving endangered species is critically important on land and in the ocean.
The 290,000-gallon One Ocean Aquarium at the center of the Galapagos Islands at the Houston Zoo represents the diverse, remarkable underwater ecosystem that connects us all. It's home to black-tip reef sharks, stingrays, and a green sea turtle.
If you were to go snorkeling in the Galapagos Islands, you may see similar species. But what is harder to spot are the tiny bits of plastic that have ended up in our oceans that animals may mistake for food. The Houston Zoo has taken action to reduce microplastics, and teens on the Galapagos Islands are also focused on the problem because they know the health of our one ocean depends on it.
Welcome to paradise within paradise, Isabela Island.
Greeting us as we island hopped was another naturalist guide eager to share the story of Galapagos and the waters that surround it.
This morning, you came from Santa Cruz Island, Puerto Ayora, 42 miles west to this beautiful town called Puerto Villamil on the southeast of this seahorse-shaped island. 40% of this beautiful seahorse-shaped island is unexplored. We don't know what we have.
While much remains to be discovered, even developed land here is dedicated to conservation, including another tortoise breeding center. The work on shore is most visible, but much is also being done to save wildlife off the coast. We dove in to explore that part of the ecosystem that's vulnerable to climate change, overfishing, and pollution, and again found teens and young adults looking for solutions.
Mi nombre es Christopher Gomez.
Christopher was 16 when he began his conservation work. By 20, he was working on projects to save sea turtles and coral reefs.
Plásticos de un solo uso.
He says single-use plastics like bottles and bags contaminate beaches. Those bigger plastic pieces can be mistaken as food for animals like sea turtles. But eventually those bigger pieces break down, and the danger of that is still being studied.
One of the big problems found here in the Galapagos Islands, worldwide, and even along the Gulf Coast, is found here in this tiny bag. These are microplastics, and it's one of the issues that this group is trying to address. Valle, what are you doing about this?
Okay, nosotros para obtener los microplásticos vamos.
At Fundación Ecos, the teens demonstrated for us how they filter through water and sand to sift out microplastics. These small samples can offer clues into what kind of plastic are in the ocean and insight on how to make a difference. Sifting for solutions isn't easy, but it's critical to the health of the islands. And that's why leaders with the Galapagos National Park are invested in community collaboration. It's already helping.
El aporte que hemos tenido.
The contribution we have had from the community of young people, as in the case of Christopher, has been very valuable.
There have been sea turtle success stories on Isabela, and the park wants to keep that going by teaching the community how conservation can benefit them through money from tourism and through a healthier planet.
trabajo que se hace en tortugas.
The work done on turtles can simply be a starting point.
Christopher agrees.
Habría una esperanza enorme para
More involvement means more hope for the future. To help, the Houston Zoo stopped the use of single-use plastics, promotes the use of reusable water bottles, and supports Plastic-Free July every summer, which encourages everyone to cut back or cut out single-use plastics. In the Galapagos Islands habitat at the Houston Zoo, you'll see how much plastic the zoo has eliminated each year. 300,000 plastic bottles, 80,000 plastic bags, and 23,000 plastic straws. Making cuts can add up quickly.
I hope that's what our community takes away, that they can see how reducing their single-use plastic use can truly make a difference for our sea turtles located right off Galveston Bay, but then also the sea turtles here in Galapagos, because it's a shared threat, unfortunately. But I think coming together, taking action as a community is going to be what really makes a difference for these animals.
As the Houston Zoo works with kids through summer camps and zoo crew, the message that children hear is they can help save wildlife. You don't have to be an adult to make a difference. In Houston and in the Galapagos Islands, it's that message that has teenagers calling the shots, deciding what actions they take to guard wildlife from human threats.
On Santa Cruz Island, we met more teens taking action to save giant tortoises. Members of the Mola Mola Eco Club have teamed with teens from another conservation group to track tortoise behavior along the roads.
They have been kind of recording some behavior of giant tortoises on the road.
The teens look for giant tortoises as they walk. It didn't take long to find the first one. When a tortoise is found, they record key details.
The time, the date, the location.
Then check to see if it has a tag. This one does not.
Lo que hacemos es que cuando hay tortugas que tienen el pit.
Lady's colleague, Lorena, explains if a tortoise is tagged, they'll contact the Galapagos National Park or other tortoise organizations to see if they can learn where the animal was tagged. The goal is to learn about its behavior and migration path. The tortoises are known to follow the same path year after year, from the highlands to the lowlands. When a road is developed, there's potential for it to be not only disruptive, but dangerous.
So right now they're measuring the distance between the giant tortoise and the street.
Any closer to the road, and this large female would be moved to a safer spot.
Actually, the teens were the ones kind of having the mission and the vision and the name of the whole group.
Lady explains the vision for the roadside work came from the teens themselves.
And so Valeria and her group have come up with an idea that we need to figure out a way to keep the giant tortoises safe.
They created the group and named themselves the Guardians. Their mission, to guard the tortoises for future generations.
This is the pelvis.
Coming up, what we learned about Lonesome George during an unexpected stop in a room full of relics.
Plus, El Perro.
This dog came from the States, so he's bilingual. He speaks English and Spanish.
Sits. Good boy. Oscar.
A very good boy sniffs out a very bad problem on the islands.
But first, KPRC2 is proud to have been able to share the Houston Zoo's conservation efforts across the globe in recent years. From Rwanda and Madagascar to Borneo and the Pantanal in Brazil to our own backyard in Texas. The Houston Zoo, with your support, is saving wildlife all over the world. To watch our complete Saving Wildlife series produced in partnership with the Houston Zoo, visit clicktohouston.com/conservation.
If you missed When Curiosity Kills, our series to empower parents, you can still find answers here.
How many parents out there have no idea what this is about?
I'd say majority of the parents don't.
If you're finding drugs hidden in their room, that's not the first time that they've done it.
I believe they don't even know what they have.
It starts with a conversation, it leads to education, and it brings in an entire community.
Arming you with the tools to talk with your child and perhaps save their life. This is our focus on KPRC 2 News.
At Wells Fargo, direct deposits come up to 2 days early with early payday. What if everything came 2 days early?
Have a good weekend, Mary.
All right now. Have a good weekend.
But it's Wednesday.
See you Monday.
Come on, Missy. It's the weekend, baby. See you later.
Like getting things 2 days early? When it comes to payday, you can with Wells Fargo.
What are you doing this weekend?
In Texas, the future belongs to everyone, so we created the truck of the future for everyone. Ford F-150, part of America's best-selling trucks for 46 straight years. With an available 12-inch touchscreen and interior work surface, it puts the world at your fingertips. And now, there's a great in-stock selection to choose from at your best in Texas Ford dealer. Drive F-150 now with 0% financing plus $1,000 cash plus up to $1,000 accessories cash plus complimentary maintenance.
Ford is the best in Texas.
As we've shown you, Galapagos animals are so unique and rare, that species cannot be taken off the islands.
Fortunately, you can learn a lot from them in the field, but also from the tens of thousands of specimens that have been carefully preserved and stored.
During our visit, we unexpectedly were led inside an area where relics offer a glimpse of the past.
This is one of three rooms that house our natural history collection.
Shells, bones, eggs, bodies that can provide important information for scientists.
So looking at the penguin, the first thing I'm noticing is this is the smallest penguin I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's probably right, because the Galapagos penguin is the second smallest species.
Miguel Pinto is the chief curator of the Natural History Collections. At the Charles Darwin Research Station, there are tens of thousands of specimens here, each with a story. From a cabinet, Miguel lifts a box with carefully cleaned and preserved bones.
These are Lonesome George bones. So you can see that the bones are extremely white, and that's because they were cleaned with peroxide.
Lonesome George's bones were sent back to the Darwin Foundation after taxidermy was complete.
So we can learn more about the life of Lonesome George by studying his bones.
So much to learn from the bones. And the eggs? Out of a drawer came a box of 4 eggs. We're told they came from a female who had been housed with Lonesome George.
And when the mother died, these were found inside of her?
The female tortoise died in 1984, before laying the eggs.
So if the female had lived, there's a chance that the Pinta tortoise would still be around.
Right, at least part of it, right? Because those might be hybrids.
A chance, but despite efforts, Lonesome George never showed an interest in becoming a father.
Unfortunately, these shape of eggs are known that those are not fertile.
Oh.
However, you can see these two very smooth and rounded, and these are usually the good eggs.
Dr. Joe explains female tortoises can have eggs without having a mate.
It would be impossible to tell if these were fertile unless they were laid and developed. So.
And it's all what ifs, because you would have had, if she would have survived, you would have done the DNA test, and then you would have found out, oh yeah, this is from him. No, it's not.
Miguel shares it's possible DNA testing will be done on the eggs.
So hopefully there are the funds to do that, and we will know if in the case that those were fertilized by Lonesome George, there would be some genetic signatures in the eggs. We have here in these collections over 150,000 specimens. Can you imagine the number of questions that we can answer? It's just endless. This is a library of life.
Invasive species on the Galapagos Islands include everything from stray dogs and cats to blackberry vines, which can restrict where animals can travel, to something much harder to spot. In fact, it takes special training to sniff it out.
So tell me what we're looking for today.
El trabajo que vamos a realizar nosotros es la colecta.
In Spanish, a member of the Galapagos Biosecurity and Quarantine Regulation and Control Agency explains our mission is to find invasive giant African snails. We're shown what they look like from juvenile to adult, and told how many eggs each snail can lay.
Up to like 500, so it's like a really bad issue, and that's why it's considered like super invasive.
Como el perro ayuda.
I ask how the dog helps. Moments later, they show us. Unleashing Neville the dog to sniff out giant African snails that burrow and camouflage well with the leaves and rocks. I thought, may have found one first, but...
No, it's a dry one.
Letty Marquez quickly points out it's just a carcass. Fortunately, Neville has a better nose for this. When he finds a snail, he sits and receives a reward. On this day, students from the Mola Mola Eco Club assist. Getting youth involved helps them understand how difficult it can be to get rid of an invasive species.
We bring like some of the students, they participate on this activity, and we remove like 600 giant African snails in 1 hour or 2 hours.
Dr. Marilyn Cruz is the Biosecurity Agency's executive director. She says the collaboration with universities, zoos, and students is crucial when it comes to controlling the snails.
Aunar estos esfuerzos y colectar de manera conjunta.
Combining these efforts and collecting together is what makes us hope to eradicate this mollusk.
Cruz says the giant African snails may have been brought in by someone for cosmetic reasons, thinking the snail was good for skin.
Esto fue reportado en el año 2010.
This was reported in 2010. Currently, we have collected 300,000 snails during 2010 to the present date.
It's progress that's needed because giant African snails destroy agriculture, impact human health with parasites, and damage resources native wildlife needs.
Oh, so you found something?
Yes. Where?
Good boy. Yes. Oh, poopy.
Just like that, another snail gets dropped in a container for disposal later. Neville was close to retirement age when we visited. 2 more dogs were already being trained to take over the important work. Cruz says the Galapagos Islands are fragile, and efforts to save them cannot stop.
This means that we must protect and care for them permanently. We cannot get tired. Remember that the Galapagos Islands belong to the whole world, and new young people will also come to contribute and also enjoy the Enchanted Islands. So thank you for all of the work you do here.
Still ahead, reaction to the Galapagos Islands habitat in Houston becoming a reality. What it means to those closest to the project.
I hope that every member of our Houston community walks through the Galapagos habitat at the Houston Zoo and just is inspired to care about these animals, inspired to support our partners, but also just inspired to take action themselves.
There are many more ways you can take action to save wildlife other than recycling. You can buy ocean-friendly seafood or seafood that's been caught in a way that doesn't harm other animals. You can plant pollinator gardens with native plants that attract bees and butterflies, and you can support the Houston Zoo as it helps replant wildlife habitats around the world. To learn more, visit clicktohouston.com/conservation or scan the QR code on your screen.
You responded to our first week-long series devoted to fixing your water bill issues. That's why we tackled it again and got results. Since November, we have recovered some $22,000 for about 11 customers. That's about $2,000 per household.
Just appreciate your help.
His bills and others were cleared only after we asked the city for an explanation of why they were charged so much. Fighting for change and demanding accountability. It's what we aim to do every day on KPRC 2 News.
Come to Gallery Furniture today or buy at galleryfurniture.com. Tempur-Pedic Pro Breeze, Tempur-Pedic Lux Breeze samples, and save a whopping 30%. Also save 30% on Tempur-Pedic Ergo Extend adjustable base samples. Hurry out to Gallery Furniture today. Save 30% on Pro Breeze, Lux Breeze, Tempur-Pedic samples, and at the Astros win it all and you spend $5,000 more, your purchase is free. Best Tempur-Pedic offer ever. Come to Gallery Furniture today.
This is how legends are made.
Chevy Silverado and new Silverado HD. Choose your own path with the #1 best-selling retail full-size pickup and see where it takes you. Find new roads. It's Chevy truck season. Get 0% financing plus make no monthly payments for 90 days on all 2023 Silverado 1500 pickups or get $2,250 total cash allowance on a 2023 Silverado with a turbo hybrid engine. Chevy drives Texas. Find new roads.
I'm not gonna eat pirate birds.
Here in the fish market, we've actually seen several. Dr. Joe?
Yeah, there's actually 2 different kinds of frigate birds or pirate birds here in Galapagos, the great and the magnificent. They both nest in small vegetation on many of the islands around the main island here of Santa Cruz. They get their name because they steal from other birds. They don't actually fish or hunt for themselves. They actually attack birds that have just caught a fish midair, make it throw up its food, and then they catch it before it hits the water. It's an amazing thing to watch. They're really agile.
Thank you, Judah.
Frigate birds are found in places outside of Galapagos, as are these Sally Lightfoot crabs. The brightly colored crustaceans, like the ones here at the Houston Zoo, are found along the western coasts of Central and South America. They're important to the ecosystem. They eat organic debris on the shores and even eat ticks off marine iguanas. Sally Lightfoot crabs have moves. They can jump, climb vertical slopes, and glide around in all 4 directions.
The Galapagos Islands and its animals are fascinating, important to the world, and worth protecting. Every time you support the Houston Zoo through an admission ticket, membership, or gift shop purchase, you're supporting conservation and the efforts of a new generation working to save the Galapagos Islands.
So, Dr. Joe, we're getting ready to head back. It's just been an incredible week of everything we've seen, and every day has been a different experience. What are your memories that you're going to take back from this trip?
To be honest, I mean, I love the wildlife here, but one of my favorite things is to see other people see the wildlife here for the first time. But for me, every time I come, I see something a little bit different. We went to see the white-tip reef sharks. I've never seen so many white-tip reef sharks in my life. That was amazing. When we went up to the highlands here on Santa Cruz and the giant tortoises.
We come upon that pond, and then all you see is like the 38 different tortoises, and all of us just gasped because it was such a sight. And so that's for me like the memory for the entire week.
This summer, teams from the Houston Zoo's Zoo Crew will make their own memories as they experience the magic of the islands themselves.
For the first time since COVID, we're able to bring another cohort, a group of our teens, all the way from Houston, Texas, here to the Galapagos to meet and collaborate and engage in a lot of different nature experiences with the Mola Mola Eco Club.
Gabby says they'll fall in love with the islands because it's the most unique place in the world. For the people whose work has inspired the Galapagos Islands habitat at the Houston Zoo, the opening is special.
When this habitat is open in April of 2023, what are you going to feel?
I will feel like super proud because it's like this is the first exhibit that we have like around the world.
At the Houston Zoo, a celebration commemorated the opening of the new habitat and what it means for both our city and for conservation.
What was your favorite part?
The sea lions, the tortoises, the penguins.
This captures the essence of Galapagos. Conservation is getting the broader community to engage. The only way you do that is through education, through awareness, and through visibility, and you have to engage people in an exciting way. And that's exactly what this exhibit does. You go in there and you come out with a big smile on your face.
Smiles and pride over what's been accomplished and the work still to come.
It is my passion, but it's the zoo's mission. As long as I am blessed with the ability to keep working and promoting wildlife and promoting the survival of nature, I will do it.
I just couldn't be more proud to be part of the Houston Zoo team.
There is so much to be proud of. This habitat the Houston Zoo has created is like no other on Earth.
So come, visit, learn, explore. Every time you support the Houston Zoo, you're saving wildlife, like giant tortoises, sea turtles, and penguins.
To learn more about the Houston Zoo's global conservation work and to read Anthony's blog from his trip, visit clicktohouston.com/conservation.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for helping save the Galapagos Islands.
When people come to this is what the Galapagos looks like. This is exactly the look and feel of the islands. Even to the details, you see the white? I mean, that's the bird poo. And to have that kind of detail here is incredible. Have Dr. Joe with the Houston Zoo, who has your answer.
I don't do any tracking, but we have partners here in the Galapagos that do the Galapagos tours.
Sorry, I laughed.
Now, you said you want to come back as a giant tortoise one day.
We heard you say that.
What's the status now of the green tortoise?
The
giant tortoise.
Yeah, I was like, what? Green tortoise?
I can't.
I thought we were talking terrestrial.
Sorry, the giant tortoise. My bad.
Are you guys stuck?
I think so. It was easy.
Coming out.
Oh, this is great. I mean, people are going to love this.